In this video, I'm going to be walking you through 25 personalizations that you can plug into your cold emails so that you can actually achieve the one-to-one communication that email is supposed to be. More importantly though, this is one of the key elements that we have been using for the past year and a half to actually convert leads into booked meetings and then clients. So I've spoken to hundreds of founders at mostly marketing agencies and B2B SaaS companies. Also, I've worked directly with dozens of founders to help them with their lead generation, and we've helped put over $1 million in closed deals into their companies. So one thing I've noticed, especially when I'm talking to these founders for the first time, is that almost everybody has tried cold outreach to some degree, but almost basically nobody has ever done any AI personalizations into their emails, even though logically speaking, it makes perfect sense that if you could personalize your message to each individual that you are reaching out to, you're gonna have a whole lot higher opt-in rate, interest rate, and people who are interested in speaking with you, and therefore more people who are in your pipeline. Now, this is incredibly important because if you reach out to somebody in their inbox and they respond to it and they're interested in hopping on a call with you, then this is somebody who is doing everything that a lot of people are not willing to do, which is to respond to a cold email, because this is something that's actually interesting to them. So to increase the likelihood that somebody is interested in the email that you send them, we're going to be talking about some AI personalizations, and I'm going to go ahead and get started by sharing this clay table over here. So this is a clay table I built out that has 25 clay enrichments. So I'm just going to be walking you through this so that you can see what you can accomplish with AI with some companies that you might want to reach out to. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT to just give me a random list of companies. I have a prompt here so that we don't waste a bunch of time with me writing it. But basically, I'm asking it to give me 20 companies, a mix of B2B companies, B2C. I want them to be mildly recognizable because, then you can actually see the enrichments and see that they make sense. And I want them to be a mix of companies because I don't know who your target ICP is, but there's a good chance that if you are targeting companies, one of these might make sense for you. So it's going to be a mix of B2B and B2C. It's also going to be a mix of e-commerce, coaching programs, marketing agencies, and SaaS. So I'm just going to copy these companies here, and I'm going to be placing them here. So now we have 20 companies. So we have Notion, and we're going to get some information on these companies as we go. So the first enrichment that we have here is enrich company. And this is just the built-in, clay enrichment. So I'm going to run the first 10 rows really quickly so that you can see what kind of information you get with this just click of a button. Immediately, you can see we get the industry of the company, we get the location that they are in, how many employees they have, and then a description. And this description is actually their LinkedIn description. So that's from their About section on LinkedIn. And if you click into the actual enrichment, you can see that that's not all the information. Those are just the ones I decided to add to these columns because they are relevant. But there are other things that we can get, such as, like the type of company that they are. So if it's private or public, their LinkedIn URL, what country they're in, when they were founded. So maybe you only want to reach out to newer companies. So you might want to filter your companies based off of companies that were founded from 2020 and beyond or something like that, depending on your specific outreach needs. So there's a whole lot you can do here, but we're going to be using just this information here. And you can also see their follower count on LinkedIn. So, if you are helping people with their LinkedIn organic strategy growth and you want to reach out to companies that are within a certain range because you know that they are more likely to be able to benefit from your services or something like that, that might be something that you might look into. Anyway, I'm just making some assumptions here because I don't know who you are and what kind of business you run, but definitely a lot that you can start with there. But that's just from LinkedIn. Obviously, that is not going to be all the information that you can get. So I'm actually going to go ahead and add some more because I'd like to see, like, Gymshark is a cool one since it's totally e-com. That being the case, I'm going to go ahead and move forward to company description. So like I said, right here, we got in the description from LinkedIn. But if you're familiar with this is, a description that a company might include themselves. So instead of doing that, I'm actually going to go to their company website to kind of get a good idea of what the company does directly from their website so that we don't just rely on what they added to their LinkedIn. And the reason we're doing that is, like let's look at Notion, for example. This is kind of a salesy description because they want people who are visiting their LinkedIn profile to see this description, but we might want a more like, I don't know, generic description of the company so that we can actually draw conclusions from the company. And sometimes it's going to be more comprehensive than other times. So yeah, just for the sake of consistency and for the sake of having a comprehensive description, we asked Claygent, which is a web research agent. So basically it has access to the internet and you can scrape and analyze websites. So we asked this agent to go visit the company's website. So we included the website here. And then we just said for it to extract a description of the company based off of the information that it can find. Just provide a description. It would be useful to get, what the company does, who it helps, and how it helps them. So you can obviously adjust this description however you'd like. If you'd like it to focus on one thing or another, depending on your specific needs, that's totally fine. But in this case, I just wanted it to be generic for the purpose of this video. All right, so now that we have that, we can actually draw some conclusions. So for example, if you only want to reach out to B2B companies or B2C companies, or your outreach would be different depending on what kind of company it is, then you can actually use something like this enrichment here, which basically just asks, ChatGPT, which is like an API integration that you can add into Clay, to analyze the company description to just let you know if it's B2B or B2C. So that's why it's important to start with a description, because you can do a whole lot more enrichments from that information. Okay, so now we have B2B and B2C, just categorized by what type of company it is, if that's something that matters to you. So that's something that's really good. So let's move on to the next one, which is product type description. And this is where I'm asking, again, ChatGPT to analyze the company's description to just figure out, just let me know what kind of solution they are. It should be as simple, functional, and specific enough to search for a competitor. So basically, let's just see what kind of responses we get here. And the reason that you might use this enrichment in particular, the product type description, is you can say something like, if you are going to help a company grow in their brand, for example, you could say like, we could help Notion be the #1 all-in-one productivity platform on the market. This is something that you can reach out to them saying. And since this is actually personalized to the exact type of product that Notion is, it's going to make sense and resonate with them. And they're going to feel like you actually did some research on them instead of, doing just a very typical generic spray and pray cold email. It's going to look a whole lot more personalized. So same thing, you can beard brand, you could say, hey, we can make you the #1 beard grooming products company. So something like that, that's very personalized to exactly the type of product that they sell or a solution that they provide. A very similar enrichment, so that's very specific to the type of product that they have. So right here, it's just the kind of like sub-industry that they are, because you can specifically say, we can make you the #1 beard grooming products company in the world, or you can go into like the industry that they're in. So like maybe if you've worked with a whole lot of companies, you could say something like, hey, we've worked with, other productivity tools are doing this. Have you tried that? Or other business news media sites have been trying this. Have you tried that? So, it's a little bit different, but it's more about the industry that they're in. So that could be something that you could apply to your cold email campaigns as well. Moving on to company impact. So let me see what we did here. This is an example here of the type of response that you can get now that you have, the company description. So you have the company description and you can write a short sentence, for example, where you're making an observation about what they are achieving, what they're helping people achieve. So basically this is following the format of, I see that company name is helping Target achieve value. So this is really good for opening lines. This is a much better way of sending a cold email with a personalized first line, because people are going to feel like this is something that was actually reaching out to them about. This is specifically going to be relevant to like if you're reaching out to a founder. So if you're reaching out to Notion's founder, then it's going to make sense to compliment their company. If you're reaching out to a specific job title, then you might want to compliment a specific aspect of the company. So, if you're reaching out to the CMO, then you might want to compliment like something about their marketing efforts that you noticed. If you're reaching out to the head of HR, then you might want to look at their Glassdoor reviews and, highlight some of the good reviews that they've seen there. In the case of Notion, we could say, I see that Notion is helping teams streamline their workflows by keeping everything organized in one customizable space. Obviously, with Notion being sort of a household brand like a lot of these are, it's going to be a little awkward to reach out to them describing the company to them when it's like, okay, well, everybody kind of knows what that is, so it doesn't really make sense. But if you're reaching out to a newer SaaS company, then, kind of mentioning what value they're providing to their specific target is going to resonate a whole lot more. So that's something that you could definitely do. And obviously at scale, you saw how quickly all we had to do was press this button and it just, downloaded them. So I'm just running the first 10 rows right here. That's because I just ran this here for only those first ones. So let's go ahead and run them all so that we can pick and choose whichever ones we want to do. All right, so now let's look at keyword suggestions. So keyword suggestions is kind of for an SEO angle. Basically, what we're asking the AI here to do is to kind of get to know the company first and think about 3 high intent keywords that the company would want to rank for on Google, for example. So, that would be extremely valuable of like saying like, hey, we can help you rank for this very specific keyword and this very specific keyword. So let's go ahead and run that enrichment so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'll explain what just happened here. So basically, I'm asking it to come up with 3 different keywords. So for Notion, it found digital workspace solution, project management tools, and knowledge management software. So for example, you could say something like, hey, it looks like when people are looking for digital workspace solution, they might be looking for Notion. How are you making sure that you are ranking above your competitors or something like that, right? So that's something that you could definitely do with AI, and you saw how quickly we got 3 specific keywords that they would want to rank for. The specific prompt is talking about high intent keywords, commercial intent keywords. So it's not just, random relevant keywords. It's also keywords that would indicate that people have a high commercial intent. So these are the keywords that you actually want to focus on that are going to bring in high value leads into your website if you rank for these keywords. Right. So like if you do sell design courses online and somebody is going to Google and searching for design courses online, then you probably want to rank for that, right? Because it's such a high intent keyword. Now what we're going to do is actually look at the Google results for that specific keyword. So this is the keyword 1 Google results. We're going to run the first 10 columns. And what this is going to show us is, what the top 10 results are on Google. So I'm going to run the first column there. I'm going to go ahead and do that for all 3 of the columns, not just the first one. And it's going to give us some really, really interesting insights. Okay, so we're just going to look at the first keyword, digital workspace solution. So these are the top 10 organic results. So if you look at like Google results, you'll see the normal organic results. You'll see people also asked, which is a little section on Google where it's just like some questions on there. You might see some related searches at the bottom, and then I'm not sure what search parameters are. Okay, so organic results though, if you look at the first result, you see that whatfix.com is going to be the first results here. And then we see Unisys is the next one, getguru.com, lenovo.com, CDW, Accenture, Software Reviews, Ricoh USA. And yeah, so Notion unfortunately isn't on there. And we actually have all 10 of the results right here. And so we're analyzing whether or not they appear on the top 10 results. So is the company that we are reaching out to appearing on the top 10 results for that one specific keyword? In the case of Notion, no, because that's what this is letting us know if they are ranking for keyword 1. But if we look, for example, at this one here, loopearplugs.com. I don't even know what this company is, but apparently, yeah, they are ranking number 1 for noise canceling earplugs. So good for them. But one thing that's cool is that, you can actually do this for an unlimited number of keywords. So here's actually a good example. Actually, it looks like Loop Earplugs is doing amazing with their SEO. So we probably wouldn't reach out to them for an SEO play. But like, here's a good one. When we're talking about that company, what was it called? Beard Brands. So for the first keyword, you can see they're not ranking, which was men's grooming products. For beard hair essentials, they are also not ranking. There's 0. And then for keyword 3, facial hair styling tools, they are ranking number 4. So now we have grounds here of saying like, hey, it looks like when I search on Google for facial hair styling tools, it looks like you're ranking number 4, which is awesome. But I also looked up men's grooming products and beard hair essentials, and I didn't see you in the top 10 results. Is this something that we can talk about, how we can help you get on those top 10 results so that you can get more high intent inbound leads to your website? So, these are the kinds of insights that you can do very, very quickly by injecting AI into your leads list. And we can move on to the next one, which is companies in industry. So these are going to be companies where we're analyzing that enrichment we got here, the product type. So these are going to be like all-in-one productivity tools. So basically what we're asking AI to do here is to go to Google and look for, all-in-one productivity tools companies. And that's going to give us a list of companies. So right now we're starting to get some for other ones. Yeah, so there we go. So ClickUp and Asana are obviously 2 tools that make sense for that description. So these are 2 all-in-one productivity tools. And yeah, you can see that for the rest of these here. Maybe I'll go ahead and do Gymshark so that I'll just run the whole Gymshark one. So for Gymshark, we see, it's fitness apparel. That makes sense. Let's see what it said for their impact. I see Gymshark is helping fitness enthusiasts feel comfortable and confident as they pursue their workout goals. That is a very good sentence to reach out to the founder of a fitness apparel company about. Yeah, fitness apparel is a keyword that they would want to rank for. Workout clothing, athletic wear for men and women. That's a really good one. They are ranking number 1 for the first keyword and the second keyword, and number 3 for the third. So they're actually doing really, really well with their SEO. For some reason, this enrichment's taking a while, but that's totally fine. We'll move on for now. All right, so yeah, these are companies that are going to be some of the bigger companies in their specific like sub-industry. And then, something that might be a little bit different is who are the actual direct competitors of the company that we are talking about. So we are actually asking it to perform a Google search for the website competitors or alternatives. So these are going to be direct competitors. And a lot of the times they are going to be very similar to the companies in their sub-industry, which makes total sense. But with direct competitors, it's going to be a little different because, just because a company achieves the same kind of purpose, it doesn't mean that they would be considered direct competitors. A brand new CRM wouldn't consider HubSpot a direct competitor, even if they are one of the main companies in the industry, because, they might have a new AI angle and they're trying to capture a very specific subsect of the market. And you can see that here for, like this company. What was this one? Basecamp, right? Is that what we're looking at? No, 37 Signals. I don't know what that is. Oh, okay. Got it. So they're the company behind Basecamp. All right, so they might consider ClickUp and Monday.com a company in their industry, but Jira and Rike are the actual competitors that they would consider. I guess that's the same thing with Notion. ClickUp and Asana are companies in their industry, but Coda and Obsidian are actual direct competitors of Notion. Again, perfect example here if you're more familiar with Gymshark. Lululemon is a company obviously in their industry, but are they really a direct competitor of Gymshark? I would say probably not. A company more like Zimrat or Magma might be better competitors. So once you have these competitors, you can go back to what we were doing before. So we can actually, first of all, get some domains for those competitors. So find out what the websites of those competitors are so that we can actually do the same kind of research that we did for the company that we are reaching out to, but for their competitors, because then we can do some really cool things. First off, something I'm going to show you in a second. So yeah, now that we have the competitors of the company's websites, you can also just get like the domains of those competitors so that you can do some enrichments for those competitors on top of the enrichments that you did for the person that you are actually reaching out to. So that allows you to do even more comprehensive, like value-oriented emails instead of just like trying to sell them and trying to get them on a call. You can reach out to somebody by making analysis of who they are as a company and who their competitors are. And this value-driven approach is going to be very appreciated to your prospect because they are used to getting a bunch of emails of people saying, hey, we can help you achieve this amazing goal. Can we hop on a call? Hey, we can help you achieve this amazing goal. Can we hop on a call? It's a bunch of people just saying what they think they need to say and then asking for a call. If you are, or somebody who is a founder, they're probably going to be somebody who is very, very busy and is going to be a little hesitant to try something out that's completely new. If you're reaching out to somebody completely cold, then there's a very good chance that they were not looking for your specific solution. So you coming to them and asking them to hop on a call with you is going to be very difficult to actually achieve the result that you're looking to achieve. But if you reach out to them saying like, hey, I looked at your website, I noticed this or that about your website. I even looked at some of your competitors and I noticed something about them. There's this missed opportunity here. What do you think about that? Then, like they're going to be a lot more receptive to start a conversation with you, and then you can make the case for a call later. So this is actually the way that you go from sending a cold email to getting a call booked with somebody who's excited to talk to you. And then, obviously when you have these calls, you're much more likely to get more clients in a predictable manner. All right, let's keep going. So the next thing we can do is we can actually find contacts at company. So in this case, just for the sake of this example, we're going to be looking for founders at the company. And that's just, if you want to find who the founder is at the company. I'm not actually going to be enriching their emails because I think that, like putting people's emails on a YouTube video probably isn't of good taste. But, you can immediately just find the people at the company who have the name founder in their title. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's see case studies. So let's see what we're doing here. Find one case study for the company name by looking at their website. So that's basically just like seeing like if there's somebody who they have helped that they mention on their website. E-com brands are usually not going to have that, obviously, since they're going to be B2C, but B2B companies are going to very, very oftentimes have a case study of a company that they have helped. So as you can see here, it looks like Notion has worked with Duolingo. So Duolingo seems to use Notion, and that's really cool. Whatever this company was down here has helped NASA, Delaware Consulting. When we're talking about B2C companies, it's very unlikely that they're going to have a case study mention on their website. So these none founds make total sense. But let's say you were building a B2B list, then there's a much higher chance that you're going to have case studies that you can reference in your emails. But just having the name of the company that they helped is one thing. I think it's also really cool that you can go actually visit the company's website and identify the case study and also get some details on the case study. So when we run this enrichment, what's really cool is that we're able to get the actual details of how the prospect that we are reaching out to helped another company, and we can call that out in the email for whatever reason that we might want to do that. So let's look at this one, which is, again, Notion at the very top. And here's all the information about, what they've helped achieved. They have various testimonials from leaders in companies like Adobe, Duolingo. There's transformational impact. Okay, so companies experienced improved organization, better team communication, and streamlined project management, replacing multiple other tools with Notion. So good stuff there, Notion. Here's another, so somebody, who are we talking about here? The best places use Jasper's API. Okay, so this is for Jasper, and they helped best places achieve an 800% increase in website traffic. So I guess they used Jasper to create some content, and that content increased their web traffic. So that's really cool. All right, so that's something that we can actually mention in the emails that we reach out to them about. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create a short sentence summarizing what the company achieved for the company mentioned in the case study. And then I just give it some guidelines for how the sentence should look. So let's look at, for example, let's start with Notion. I saw how Notion helped Makespace centralize their scattered wikis. So this is something that you might use to like start an email with. You can say like, I was looking on your website and I saw how Notion helped Makespace centralize their scattered wikis. It's clear that you're helping companies achieve blah, blah, blah. That's a really good way to start an email. I saw how Morning Brew helped Omni Hotels quadruple ad conversions. So, this is like saying like, you went a layer deeper. You actually saw how they're helping companies, so you want to reach out to them in particular because they are doing good things. I saw how Beard Brand helped Nuvo sell 200 plus wallets. I'm not sure how that works, but apparently that happened. I saw how Loop earplugs helped McLaren control race day noise. That's really cool. That's a cool case study. I saw how Jasper helped best practices boost traffic 800%, so I wanted to reach out. Like that's something you can say. All right, so another thing you can do for your outreach, depending on your needs, depending on who you are, you can actually get the funding information for the company that you are reaching out to. So this is obviously going to be specifically relevant for if you're reaching out to like startups or companies in the tech space. Obviously, a lot of e-com brands are going to be like bootstrapped, so there's not going to be a whole lot of funding information for these companies. But if you're reaching out to more spaces where funding is a common practice, then you can actually use funding information directly from Clay for that specific company, so that you can either call it out if you want to call it out, like, hey, I saw that you guys raised 35 million in Series A. That's awesome. Or you can use this funding information to actually score your leads. So let's say, for example, that your solution in particular is specifically relevant to companies that have just raised a very specific round of funding, then you can reach out to them because of that. So this is information you can pull very quickly and easily, as you just saw from Clay. So let's look. Here's Notion's funding metadata. So it looks like in January 2017, they had an angel round. They did not disclose how much they raised, but then they had their first seed round in March of 2018. Again, not publicly announced. Series A, July 2019, raised 18 million. Series B raised 50 million in 2020. Series C looks like 275 million. So down. Okay, that's Notion. Yeah, so you can call that out, and you can even see like who the investors were and everything. So if that makes sense for your specific offer, that's awesome. If not, let's go ahead and move on to end user description. End user description is a really cool way to paint the picture of how we envision how people will use their product. So for example, if we're talking about Notion, we talk about like project managers at tech companies. So like we could say something like, hey, like we could help get more project managers at tech companies using Notion, or we can help more Ben's grooming enthusiasts at barbershops, like subscribe to beard brands or whatever they do. We can help more project managers at collaborative teams inject or use whatever this company was. So, this is just like a way to call out specifically the use case of like who we would be reaching out to, or who would be using their product and how we envision it. So we can call that out in the email. Painting the picture is a really good way of letting people know what the value is and what you are offering, because then they can actually see how this would play out. And this is a good way of doing that. All right, a dream client. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So this is, who would be a dream client. So if, for example, you're reaching out to Notion and be like, hey, like we can help you reach out to 1,000 prospects a month, so you can close clients like Airbnb, or you could just mention whatever kind of company makes sense for them. So this could be a little strange, for B2C companies. You're not going to get a good dream client because that doesn't really make sense. So obviously Gem Launch got Under Armour here, and that's just because like AI tried to force an answer. But for B2B, there's going to be dream clients, and so you can see that for the B2B companies here. All right, you can also use AI here in Clay to find the tech stack that they are using at that company. So why does that matter? Basically, if you look at the response here are all of the 351 technologies that Clay found that Notion, or rather Built With, found that Notion is using. And the reason that this matters is, for example, you can use this to score leads. So you can be like, hey, like if you are helping companies with their paid ads marketing, then you can just make sure that they are using like Facebook custom audiences, or they have the Facebook pixel installed. That's going to be a really good indicator that they've at least engaged with paid ads on Meta in the past. So that's one thing that you can do. You can search for only including companies like that. Or if you're offering a solution or a competitor to something that they might be using already. So let's say that like it says here that they use Stripe. Maybe you offer an alternative to Stripe, and you can call out the pain points that a lot of Stripe users generally have and how it's different with your product. And obviously, if they have that technology on their website, then there's a really good chance that they are a Stripe user. So these are going to be very, very high quality leads for you. All right, and now let's look at the company philosophy. And this is actually something that we have used in the past to actually sign clients for some of our clients. So this is a really cool thing that you can do. And this is specifically going to be a little bit more relevant to B2C companies, because it's going to look at the mission of the company or the values that they have or the story that they have. And I'm just going to tell a quick story here. One of our clients that we worked with had tried cold email in the past for about a year and they saw no results from it. They were ready to give up, but then we just happened to reach out to them at the right time and they were convinced that we could maybe help them get new clients with cold email. So the first thing that we did was we looked at their case studies and we were like, okay, what's the best thing you've ever achieved for somebody? And then, we could reach out to companies that are similar to that case study about how they achieved this for that case study and how you can get that same result or expect that same result. This is a pretty obvious strategy, a pretty obvious angle. And it's an angle that they had already tried in the year that they had been trying cold email. They didn't get results from it. So we looked a layer deeper and we were like, okay, so what was it about this specific case study that's your best case study that allowed you to get the result that you got for them? Like, what is it about their specific company that makes it so that you are able to get them results that you haven't been able to get for everybody else and that you could probably replicate for somebody else? So when we look deeper into the case study, this was actually a health and wellness company that had a very powerful founder story. So basically, like, the founder had a child with like a skin issue and she was able to remedy that skin issue for their baby using natural products. And so they developed a brand around that because they wanted to help other people that were having similar issues, be able to fix these types of things with their product. So their founder story was very personal. So what we did was we actually reached out to other companies that had a very personal founder story about how our client could help them with their marketing, because they were actually going to make their powerful founder story central in their marketing. Anyway, this obviously resonated with people who had very powerful founder stories, and they signed them 2 high-ticket clients, each worth $4,000 per month. So more than $80,000 in terms of deal size from just one campaign alone. So obviously this is something that can be very powerful if it's going to be something that is relevant to you. So let's look at Loop earplugs. It says it exists to empower people to enjoy life to the fullest by protecting their hearing. Okay, so that's not exactly a very powerful story, but still, you can still call that stuff out. So for Gymshark, it was founded out of love for training and is devoted to unlocking potential through fitness, creating tools to help everyone become their best selves. So yeah, so that's a valid reason to start a fitness line, and you can actually call that out in the email. So you could say like, hey, I read about how Gymshark started from a genuine passion for training and helping people unlock their potential through fitness, which really resonated with me. All right, so that's a really personal reason to be reaching out to this company that is calling out why the company exists. So this is going to be a very, very good line to reach out to, specifically to a founder, because a founder is the one who founded the company. They are the one who really believes in the mission and the reason that this company exists. So if you're able to call out the reason that the company exists, then this person is going to be much more willing to, hear out what you have to say. So, this isn't just something that's going to be impactful if you're reaching out to somebody with a powerful founder story. It can also just be a company that is solving a problem, which is something that obviously Notion is doing. So you could say, like, I read about how Notion is reimagining workspaces to be more creative and cohesive, and it really resonated with how our team thinks about collaboration, right? So that makes total sense. Another thing that you can do is you can actually find job openings that the company has. So if they're hiring right now, one, that's a really good signal that this is a company that's growing, which means that it's a company that is likely to want to invest in their growth. So if you are offering a growth-oriented solution, then that's great. Another thing that it might indicate is that they might have some recruiting or hiring needs. So that's obviously something. Or you could be looking specifically for the type of job that they are hiring for. And if you want to focus it on that, then it might be because you are offering a specific solution. So if you're offering a solution that kind of helps their sales process, then you might look to see if they're hiring sales jobs, right? So it might mean that your solution is going to mean that they need less SDRs, so it could help them save money, or it could help their sales team be more effective because clearly they're investing on their sales side of things. So this is a really good opportunity. In this case, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for sales-oriented job openings, and you can see that Notion is actually hiring 34 people, including an enterprise account executive, another enterprise account executive, an account executive in Sydney, an account executive for commercial, another one, an account executive for mid-market, an account executive for enterprise deals in Japan, for commercial deals in France, for commercial deals in Japan. So yeah, they're hiring a lot in the sales side of things. Also, what we can do is actually analyze the job postings that they have so that we can see like what are they actually, paying these people. So if they are paying for an enterprise account executive $250,000 to $325,000 a year, and your solution maybe is a way for them to avoid having to hire this person, and it could save them, all of that money by working with your solution, that might be something that you call out. So that's an idea that you can do there. Another thing that we can do is we can actually look at their reviews, so you can call that out. So this is Trustpilot, and we're going to be using SEMrush. SEMrush is just a scraper for websites, so we're going to be scraping their Trustpilot reviews using SEMrush, and that's going to give us all of the information from their Trustpilot page so that we can, call something out from their Trustpilot. So obviously, Trustpilot isn't going to be the most relevant place to get reviews for every single company. It's just the one I chose here for this example. You could use whatever review site makes most sense for your specific industry. But let's say that on Trustpilot, they have really good reviews or they have really bad reviews. If they have really bad reviews and you offer a specific type of solution, you might look through those negative reviews to identify a key problem that is affecting their churn, it's affecting their customer experience, that you can help them solve. Right? That's a pretty obvious thing that you can do with customer reviews. The other thing that you can do is just call out, a compliment of how they are actually helping people. And this is a much more positive way of using reviews. So as those are running, let's look at what we're asking AI to do here. We're asking it to write the first line of a cold email to the company. We're going to be analyzing their Trustpilot reviews, and we're going to write a 2-sentence cold email opener that mentions that we were looking through some of their reviews and that there's a certain takeaway that we had from there. In our particular case, I just picked a very specific use case. And this use case is that we're a company that helps other companies find out like what messaging resonates with their intended audience for paid ads or for their website. So we are actually looking through the reviews to find anything through direct market feedback of what is actually things that people like about the company, so that we can use that direct market feedback as messaging that we put into ads. Because if this is what people are saying that they like about this company, then this is what people who haven't heard about this company would like to hear about the company to want to buy from it, right? So just as an example, let's look at what we found for Notion. So looking through some of Notion's reviews, I noticed customers consistently describing it as a great tool for organizing everything in one place. So it's all about the all-in-one aspect about Notion, despite the learning curve. That kind of direct market feedback is exactly what we can help teams turn into high converting messaging for ads and website copy. So, if that's the offer that you are offering, then that makes sense. Looking through some of Jasper's reviews, I noticed customers consistently mention how it transforms content creation and helps them finish drafts 2 to 5 times faster than they could have without AI assistance. This kind of direct market feedback is exactly what we help teams turn into high converting messaging for ads and website copy. So if this is something that you offer, this is an amazing angle, because we are using real reviews for the company, what people are saying, and saying this is the direct market feedback. This kind of messaging is going to turn into high converting messaging for ads, because this is using your actual users' language and what they like about your product for the messaging that you put out in your marketing. All right, now we're going to be using SEMrush or SEMrush. SEMrush is an SEO tool. And what we can do with SEMrush is we can actually get a traffic report for the company that we are reaching out to. So again, this is for like an SEO offer, or for whatever other reason you might want to call out how many visitors that they get. Like, maybe you do some conversion rate optimization or something like that, like anything where it makes sense to call out that there are a bunch of people going to their website, and how are you making use of those people that are visiting your website. It could be web development, it could be CRO, it could be A/B testing for messaging, it could obviously be SEO. So what information do we get? We get what their bounce rate is, how many visitors they get, how much time they spend on website, how many pages people visit every time that they come to their website for each individual device. You can get it on total, obviously. And the really cool thing is that you can do that for the company you're reaching out to, but you can also do that for the two competitors that we looked at earlier. So these are these two competitors over here. So, for Notion, there's Coda and Obsidian, and we got the actual company domains. So with these company domains, then we can actually look at the traffic of each of these companies, including the one we're reaching out to. So now we have traffic reports for the company we're reaching out to, as well as two additional companies. Now, with this traffic report, then we can actually do an SEO analysis. And what this SEO analysis is going to allow us to do is to send an email to the person by providing value immediately from that first cold email so that they can see how you are going to help impact whatever they need impacted. So this is an SEO angle here. Let's look at what happened with Gymshark. So we're seeing, looks like Gymshark's pulling in a solid 7.8 million visitors, but mobile users are bouncing quite a bit with a rate at over 70%. Meanwhile, SEMrush's mobile visitors are sticking around longer with an average time on site of nearly 10 minutes. Want to dig a little deeper into this and see how we can boost your mobile engagement? Like, that's crazy, right? So, because obviously Gymshark is getting a lot more website visitors than a website like SEMrush. But apparently SEMrush's getting people to stick around a lot longer. And the longer that somebody's on your website, the more likely it is that they're going to buy, right? Or the more familiar they get with your brand, and then they become, more committed to you in the long run. So this is actually a perfect example because it's not just about mentioning, hey, you're getting this many visitors, your website's getting this many visitors. That's a very simplistic way of doing SEO analysis, but there's a whole lot more to it that you can say. So again, for Notion, it's another massive company. Your desktop traffic is stellar with about 151 million visits, but the mobile bounce rate is at 74%, is noticeably higher than Coda's and Obsidian's. If you're curious, we can dig into how to improve mobile engagement and close that gap. So obviously any company that's absolutely killing it with getting 151 million visits on desktop, but are having some issues with mobile, that might be something where their attention is, heading in that direction. This is a problem that you are pinpointing and you can help them solve. So it also 100% reads like this is something that you went and did the research. You looked into Notion, you looked into Coda, you looked into Obsidian, you looked at how much traffic they're getting. You also looked at everybody's mobile traffic and their bounce rate, and obviously, like that engagement is going to be something that's going to be really important to Notion. Since I like this one so much, let's look at another one. Okay, noticing the future's mobile bounce rate is through the roof at 100%, while Baza 7 is cruising with a much friendlier rate. Okay, so that's a little bit more aggressive. Morning Brew is rocking just over 1.3 million visits, which is fab, but I noticed their bounce rate on mobile is a bit higher compared to the Hustle. If you're up for it, we could dig into what's working for them to help lower that bounce rate. Okay. And then this last one here is just calling out their best-selling product. So this is, going to somebody's, especially e-commerce website, and calling out what their best-selling product is from their website, because then, you can personalize your message. So you could say, I'm not going to be telling you that you should say that you use, or you or your wife uses, the everyday seamless leggings from Gymshark when you're reaching out to them. But it is something that might be, impactful, a little bit more personal, and people are much more likely to engage with a customer than they are to engage with a salesperson trying to sell them something. So if you imply that you are a user or are at least familiar with their product, or maybe just interested in their product, then either they might send it to you, because that has happened before, or, they might just be more interested in reading your email, reading your offer, and figuring out what you're about. So these are just some enrichments that I put together for this video. It's 25 of them. There's basically unlimited things that you can do with Clay and AI enrichments. I could probably put together another 25, and I will do that if you guys respond to this video and are interested in seeing a lot more things that you can do with Clay. Let me know if there's anything that you would be interested in seeing, any AI personalizations that you think would help impact the responsiveness of your outreach. Because I can help you put that together. If this sounds really interesting to you and you believe that this could heavily impact the responsiveness of your campaign, but you don't know how to set up your cold emails properly, you don't know how to use Clay or how to find leads or how to AI enrich leads, and you don't really have the time to figure it all out, well, that's something that we can help you with. Basically, what we're doing is we will set up your entire cold email infrastructure for you. We will set up 24/7 monitoring of your deliverability to make sure that you never have any deliverability issues. We set you up in a sending tool so that you can just put your campaigns in. We also actually will provide you the leads list of the people who you want to reach out to. And we will also apply these AI enrichments to that leads list so that all you have to do is plug it into the sending tool and respond to the leads that are going to be a whole lot more responsive than if you were just sending a typical general campaign. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, I'm just going to leave the link in the description for our website, and there's a big video that explains everything on there. So just check that out. Otherwise, again, if there's any other enrichments that you would like to see if Clay could pull off for you, leave that in the comments, because I do think I will make a second part of this video if this video is helpful to anybody. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.